Guys, this is Jose Diego Monroy. I happen to be interviewing Matt Davis in a conference in Houston, Texas. We're broadcasting for Jadin Academy. Matt, it was a great conference. Tell us a little bit about you.
Goodness, my name is Matt Davis. I've been a real estate investor for quite a long time, over a decade now, both successful and unsuccessful. I began kind of with a rocky road, but eventually got back into real estate investing and have done quite a few deals, lots of success in real estate, and I'm grateful for engineers and those that have that level of expertise and architects, because you make my world a lot easier.
Jadin Academy is a YouTube channel to share with new engineers, new architects, and new construction managers about the industry. In your case, real estate investor, what kind of things that you've seen on the infrastructure, not just on the house or commercial property, but in the infrastructure like the roads, what kind of issues have you seen in some of the places that you've seen and look for commercial real estate? What are the major concerns that you look on a property, on a residential property, for somebody to live there or to buy it?
Well, I'm going to share a piece of what I shared in the conference this weekend. We just got done doing a 3-day conference where it's specifically teaching people how to do real estate investing on the residential side. So as an investor, the things that I look for and the advice that I've shared this weekend, it came from my grandpa. Will the dogs eat it, and for how long? All right. So who's going to buy that property? It's in the end an inline customer that wants to raise their kids there. So obviously engineers need to design areas and properties that are going to eventually house families, and needs to be a product that is eventually sold to the inline customer. So as far as the infrastructure and things that you keep talking about, I guess.
Maybe parks, it's a house isn't close in a park, that makes a difference. Or good schools?
Yeah, I mean, any kind of an emerging market or any type of I always look at average days on market in a general larger vicinity, and then what areas are moving faster than average days on market. I know that's an investor type of thing and not necessarily as applicable to an engineer. However, as you're engineering parks and where to put things and where schools, districts are going to go, these are all obviously part of the master city plan. But as an investor, which I know is a little different than what your audience is all about, I love just knowing that I'm doing deals in an area moving faster than average days on market. And again, engineers are going to be designing where parks go, how large subdivisions are going to be. I mean, they're hired to come in and be a spoke in the wheel. They're definitely and absolutely needed. If I could ever encourage an engineer to learn that trade, do the best you can, eventually learn another spoke in the wheel. The spoke that I actually participate in is the investor side. So the biggest thing I look for is price. I mean, price, if I can get it here and make a margin up here, then that's really what my business is all about. So again, I know that's not as applicable to your audience as much as you'd like it to be, but...
Well, we produce the real estate. We know engineers, architects, and construction managers. We build, we design, permit, and build teams. So some feedback like this is important, because a lot of times we're the designers, but not necessarily the owners. And I think it will be for me to share with my students in Jadin Academies. Well, if we design, why don't we eventually also own real estate?
I very much agree with that, because my grandpa's advice still applies to that. A designer and an engineer needs to engineer what ultimately the customer is going to be buying. Mm-hmm. So I would say check with your customer to see what they want before you design what you think that they want. Mm-hmm. Right? Get to know your customer. I think that's really any business. In fact, if I could suggest a book for any young architect, one of my favorite books is written by Ayn Rand called The Fountainhead, about a young architect. If you've ever read that book before, It's a phenomenal book.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to finish this short interview, Matt, for somebody to be successful in life, not necessarily the architecture and engineering or construction, what type of advice would you give to the new generation, to the new engineers or architects or construction managers?
I would say analyze if, as far as a young engineer or any architect, I would say analyze where you want to take this. I would hope, again, this is just me speaking, if I were an architect and interested in designing dwellings for families, I would eventually want to also be an investor in those. Okay? Architects eventually get paid normally for the job or for the hour. If you can eventually cross over from being an architect into a real estate investor, that's a bigger payday. So your level of expertise is still definitely needed, but being the investor would eventually allow you to own your time as well. So that's what I would suggest.
Right. Well,
Own your time.
Matt, I would like to thank you for this great training. It was a great 3-day training here in Houston. I appreciate it and wish you the best in life.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you very much. And best of success to all your students.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye-bye.